US GDP grows despite tariff policies. August 30, 2025. The US economy regained ground this spring, rebounding from an early year contraction tied to President Donald Trump's sweeping trade policies. According to revised figures released Thursday by the Commerce Department, gross domestic product, GDP, expanded at an annual rate of 3.3% between April and June, up from the initially reported 3% and reversing the 0.5% decline in the first quarter of 2025. The earlier downturn marked the first economic contraction in 3 years. It was largely driven by a surge in imports as businesses rushed to stock up ahead of Trump's tariffs, an effect that reversed in the second quarter. Imports fell sharply at an annual rate of 29.8%, a decline that alone added more than 5 percentage points to GDP growth. Consumer spending offers a modest lift. Consumer spending, which accounts for nearly 70% of U.S. economic output, grew at an annual rate of 1.6%. While modest, it represented an improvement over the sluggish 0.5% pace seen in the first quarter and slightly outpaced the government's initial estimate of 1.4%. Investment remains a drag. Private investment told a different story. Despite the upward revision to GDP, business investment fell at an annual rate of 13.8%, the steepest drop since the pandemic's early months in 2020. Much of the weakness stemmed from inventory reductions, which shaved 3.3 percentage points off growth. Government spending declines again. Federal spending also weighed on the economy, falling at an annual rate of 4.7% following a nearly identical decline in the first quarter. This contraction limited the scope of the overall rebound. Signs of underlying stability. One measure of core growth, which strips out volatile categories like inventories, exports, and government spending, showed the 1.9% increase in the second quarter, roughly in line with the first. Economists see this figure as a more accurate reflection of the economy's underlying momentum. Tariffs reshape economic landscape. Since returning to the White House, Trump has upended decades of U.S. trade policy, imposing tariffs across a broad range of imports, from steel and aluminum to automobiles. The administration argues that tariffs shield American manufacturers, bring jobs back to U.S. soil, and help fund sweeping tax cuts signed into law on July 4. Economists, however, caution that tariffs act as a hidden tax on American companies and consumers. Importers bear the initial costs, which are often passed along in the form of higher prices. While the inflationary impact has so far been moderate, businesses remain unsettled by Trump's unpredictable approach, announcing, suspending, and revising tariffs in rapid succession. Outlook. Growth with risks. Labor market strength has provided an important cushion. Weekly jobless claims declined last week, a sign that steady employment is helping households sustain spending. Heather Long, chief economist at Navy Federal Credit Union, noted that consumers are confident enough to cover basics and enjoy small luxuries. Still, she projected slower growth ahead, with spending likely settling closer to 1.5% as tariffs effects filter through to household budgets. By Explicame, story by Gabriella Leon, August 29, 2025.